Been a couple days and the truck still looks amazing, as you can imagine. Paint looks great, no issues there. What I kind of want to focus on today is fixing a couple of little things. Like I really want to fix this little dent in the fender. I think this one will be really easy. Just take off the inner fender liner, kind of pop it out and hit this at the same time a little bit and just make sure that the rest of the paint doesn't crack up. So maybe warm up the paint a little bit. Also, I really want to fix this damage back here right there. All right, so I got the tail light off, just kind of dangling. I'll probably disconnect it completely. I did remove the little hinge holder that bolts right here. It is pretty damn bent. First things first, I'm actually going to pull this back straight. I'm connecting it to that little support beam right there. It's starting to straighten out fairly nice. It's not like perfectly straight yet. Like if you look at this side is straight up and down. I think the reason it's not wanting to go straight is because of this crease right here where this kind of pushed in. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn the truck around and connect the come along to this section and pull this as far as it can come out. All right, so we got a lot of it pulled out. This dent is a lot smaller than it used to be. Biggest thing I'm running into is the bed is kind of like crinkled right here, as you can tell, kind of stuck. I think what I'm gonna do is actually take the grinder and cut a little recess right here. That way it'll kind of have like a little bit of a less tension to hold it. Then I can pull this section straight, because if I'm looking at this side is like 90 degrees and it's straight 90 degrees. This side's like kind of bent in, and I'm thinking this crease right here is causing it not to be able to bend back. So what I will do is I'm actually going to turn the truck back around, but I'm going to cut a recess right here so I can pull this thing straight, flatten that out, put a piece of metal on the backside, and then weld it together. Kind of straighten up all this area too. Now, if I strap from that side to that side and pull it, this should all get straight. So let's get this on there. Most of the actual straight out of this back, it's a little bit curved in. We'll pull that out a little bit more. I'm not too worried about it. This crease is pretty much gone. Kind of where I hit it, it's still on there. The bed is looking pretty dang straight. There's this little section right here, but I'm actually thinking both sides are like that, because now that I'm looking at it, there is a little bit of an indent on it. See it coming at it from above. The crease is pretty much completely gone. We have a tiny bit of it right here, which is cool because that means most of the tension on this corner of the bed is gone. The reason I have this little like hammer in here is because this kind of just pulled this out. There's still a crease right here that needs to be pulled out for sure. Then we have this little crease, and then we have to like redo pretty much this entire section. What I'm honestly contemplating doing is looking at this side, and this is kind of one swooping motion, which is not crazy for bodywork. It's actually not that hard. I might actually cut off from right here, cut this straight up to right there, and then right here cut down to about right here. All right, so I just cut off this little section right here. I can straighten most of this out by hand and kind of replicate that same angle as that side. Looking underneath, this is all good. It's a little bent in here, but we're definitely able to move this a lot more without this piece holding it. And we can kind of straighten out this section, grind it all off, and re-weld it in. This section cut out a little bit. This gap is perfect. Put a screwdriver in there to keep the bottom gap perfect too. I used the clamp again to clamp a piece of steel on the bottom. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld this little section here, and then hopefully that should keep the bed where it is. I'm actually really happy with how this is turning out, because when I put this tail light in, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to because of the screwdriver. Actually, yeah, the gap fits pretty much perfect all around. The only areas that it's not perfect is like down here, and the reason it's not perfect down there is because it's sitting on the that screwdriver right there. All right, well, I got the tail light in. I got this gap exactly where I want it, which is freaking awesome. All of this is good. There's a few dents here from me hitting it with a hammer. That'll all get sanded down and repainted. This section is cut. I had to cut a little sliver in here to get the stress off this weird jacked point. I used the tonneau cover, clamp or whatever, to hold a piece of steel in there. I'm gonna weld it up. It's pretty straight overall. This big crease that was in the bed is actually completely gone now, which is freaking awesome. I was really nervous about that initially. We have a tiny, it looks like we have a tiny, yeah, we have a tiny crease right here, which I could probably get out, but you can't really tell in person. On camera, it's definitely a lot more noticeable. Basically from, I'm assuming 1 inch out right here, all the way to probably right here, will get completely sanded back, and then I'll put some fiberglass filler on there. This little corner section, the reason it's not on is because it looks like this right now, and it needs to look like a corner. So I'm gonna bang this out really quick in the shop and get it as good as I possibly can, and then kind of mount it right there. It'll look good, I think, when I'm done. All right, so you guys just saw me kind of like go from really messed up quarter panel to where it's acceptable, where it closes, where it latches, and it looks really nice. The body line, it's within reason. I mean, it's maybe a couple millimeters bigger or smaller than the other side, but when I go to weld it all together, I'm going to measure them exact. I'm going to put some body spacers in there, get it perfect so where it's all structural again, where it doesn't break off or anything like that. Now, I'm really going to try and take this piece of metal right here, this like really dented up, broken. You can kind of see where the light creases are. There's 2 creases there. They're all bent, broken, rusted. That one's straight ripped through the middle. I'm going to see if I can bang this out to where it matches good enough to where I can weld it in and then slap a layer of fiberglass filler over it. So let's see if I can turn that into something gooder, into something better right now. There it is. Rough shape. We got the that split that was right there. It's kind of right there. It's a little, I mean, it's dented for sure, but we got all of the major lines created. So this line, I mean, really what I was trying to do was just get most of the damage out where I can put it up against the truck, and this looks like exactly right. This is all done on the ground with these tools. What I'm going to do now is kind of feather out all these little dents. All of these will come out. This piece of metal should look pretty flat. I was just showing you guys kind of where I'm at in the process. It looks good. I mean, all these little kind of like edges with the little lines like this, they're really, really hard to do with like a hammer and a body set. Most of these have to be done with like clamps or pliers and kind of gone through. So like this body line right here, you can see where my finger's pointing at right here, kind of goes that way like that. And then you just kind of got it all dented out and stuff. And this stuff is really hard to get out just with hand tools. So using like a press or like pliers and kind of going around with it, that's the best way to do it. I think that looks pretty dang good. I'm going to go put it up against the truck, see how it fits. And yeah, probably not tack it tonight, maybe tack it tomorrow. So it's the next day. It has been about 2 hours. I've been working on the truck. All of the footage I've recorded so far today has got deleted, which sucks because I got the piece welded to the truck and I've gotten a few layers of filler on it. Here's what it looks like. Looks pretty dang good. I'm just shaping it up right here, using a little bit of filler to shape it up. And you know, it is looking kind of weird with all the filler, but it looks so good on the actual truck. I think it's gonna look excellent when it's all done. So I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slap one more little layer, sand it back, and then throw some primer. All right, so it's pretty dang dark now. Just slapped a layer of primer on. I think that looks pretty good. The primer's like all blotchy, so it makes it look like there's like weird, I don't know, weird levels to it, but it's actually pretty damn flat. I'm stoked. This turned out awesome. Here it is all done. It is painted black, and then there's some primer. The paint did run. I just wanted to cover the metal so it was like not all bad. Paint was really wet and I kind of touched it so it's all blotchy. So I'm actually gonna wet sand this all with 400, 600 and then spray it red. Got this gap pretty dang good. Made this like body line. It looks good. There's some sanding marks in there and stuff. The gap is a little bit bigger than I wanted it to be, but honestly, I'm not gonna worry about it. Compared to what it was, this is awesome. I'm gonna scuff all this down. Wow, on camera it looks really bad. In person, it's not that bad. I'm gonna sand all this flat and I'm gonna spray it red. And the paint that I'm gonna use is just this perfect match Ford color. I tried the Toyota one, but it was a little too metallic-y. It matches pretty well. Well, in the light it matches. Now that I'm looking at it, it doesn't really look. I don't know. We'll paint a little section. I sprayed a little bit right here and it actually matches really well. I'm just gonna sand all this back and get it to where it's pretty flat and then spray a little bit of this, couple layers, see how it looks. So I got 3 layers of paint on, and it doesn't look like it matches. It looks like the paint is a little too bright, and it's not covering very well. But it's looking pretty good. You can definitely see some of the bodywork that I did. I'm not a professional at all. I did make this line right here, which looks pretty dang good when the taillight's in there. It looks awesome. I'm stoked. It's red, and it's not all dented, and it's not all broken. I think I will let it dry a little bit more, throw maybe 2 or 3 more coats on, let it dry for like a day or 2, go back and wet sand maybe the whole entire bed section right here. I'll probably wet sand that upper section with 25 to 3000 grit, just a little bit, just touch it up. And then back here, I'll go like 1500, 2000, 2500. I gotta be really careful because the paint is pretty thin, and kind of just go over it and then polish it. If it's a little different, who cares? I'll paint it later. I'm not too worried about it. It looks 1,000 times better than it did before, all broken and smashed and all that stuff. Let's get a few more layers on this and then put it together. Definitely not the same. I'm running super late to a meeting. I didn't realize what time it was. So I'm gonna stop this for today and then come back at it tomorrow, wet sand a little bit, and then add a few more coats. I did end up running the paint in a few areas, putting it on too heavy, but that looks good. So I think I'll end the video here, and then the next video I'll kind of just give an update on this. I'm probably gonna try to fix that front fender or maintenance. I don't know, something. We'll figure it out. But yeah, this looks 1,000 times better.